The Oxy-Fuel gas equipment is primarily used for the Oxy-Fuel gas cutting and welding processes. Applications include the cutting of pipe, plate, and structural shapes, as well as the maintenance and repair welding on most ferrous and non-ferrous metals, including steel, cast iron, copper, and brass. The main components of the typical Oxy-Fuel gas station include two gases, one of oxygen, the other a fuel gas, the cylinder and valves atop of each cylinder, the cylinder pressure regulators, the oxygen and fuel gas hoses, the torch assembly, attachments, and safety devices. Oxygen is a tasteless, odorless element that supports combustion. Its hazard is that it accelerates combustion, meaning that materials burn much quicker and hotter in an oxygen-enriched atmosphere. Both oil and grease can cause an explosion when brought into contact with oxygen. Remember that oil and grease plus oxygen equals explosion. The most common fuel gas, called acetylene, is an unstable compound. It produces a high heat when burned, and when mixed with oxygen can reach temperatures of 3,300 degrees Celsius. Acetylene has a strong odor. A 2% mixture in the atmosphere can cause an explosion. Acetylene is dangerous when withdrawn from the cylinder above 15 psi. Other common fuel gases include natural gas, MAP gas, and propane. These alternatives supply a lower flame temperature and reduced heating efficiency, requiring more preheat and slower cutting speeds, but are less expensive in terms of equivalent cutting and welding capacity. Remember that all fuel gases are dangerous and potentially explosive. Oxygen cylinders are available in various sizes. The oxygen is compressed to 2200 psi inside the cylinder. Due to this high pressure content, these cylinders are forged in one piece from quarter-inch thick high-grade steel. WorkSafe regulations state that all cylinders must be labeled with their contents. The valve located atop of the oxygen cylinder operates at high pressure. Its double seal construction prevents leakage from around the stem while open. When the wheel or handle is turned clockwise, the pressure on the seals shuts off the supply. When the wheel is turned counterclockwise, the pressure is released from the seals, allowing the flow of oxygen into the regulator. Acetylene cylinders are low-pressure cylinders, shorter and larger in diameter than oxygen cylinders. Made of welded steel construction, they are filled with a porous material, then saturated with liquid acetone to hold and stabilize the acetylene. The cylinder must be used in the upright position to prevent the flow of acetone into the regulator. Because of the cylinder's low pressure, acetylene valves do not use double seal construction. The cylinder may have a hand wheel for opening or have a square shank that you operate with a wrench. The cylinder valve must be opened slowly and never more than 1.5 turns, allowing for quick closure in an emergency. Safety devices for the oxygen and fuel gas include a rupture disc on the oxygen valve that is designed to release pressurized gas evenly in the event that cylinder pressure becomes too high. The acetylene cylinder's threaded fusible plug is designed to release excessive pressure by melting at 115 degrees Celsius. Oxygen and acetylene should be stored separately in well-ventilated areas. Cylinders should be secured to a stationary object such as a wall or bottle cart. Handle carefully. Never drop cylinders. Use specially designed carts for moving. When hoisting, always use a cradle box, and during transport, remove the regulators and use the protective caps. Gases stored in cylinders are at higher pressures than needed to perform cutting or welding tasks. Regulators are installed to control the flow of gas from the cylinders so that lower working pressures can be maintained. Most regulators have two calibrated gauges. The gauge with the higher number indicates cylinder pressure. The gauge with the lower number indicates working pressure. Oxygen regulators have higher numbers than acetylene regulators. The cylinder pressure gauge closest to the bottle ranges from 0 to 4,000. The working pressure gauge ranges from 0 to 200. Turn the adjusting screw in the center to set the pressure. Clockwise rotation to increase pressure, counterclockwise to decrease. Acetylene regulators have a lower calibration range. Cylinder pressure ranges from 0 to 400, and working pressure ranges from 0 to 30. Working pressure is adjusted the same as oxygen, but acetylene working pressure should never exceed 15 psi. Acetylene threads are left-hand and identified by a groove in the fitting. Hoses that carry the gases consist of 2 or 3 rubber layers separated by a layer of fabric reinforcement. The oxygen hose is colored green and the fuel gas is red. To avoid fires and explosions, use only hoses in good condition. Repair damaged hoses with the proper repair kit, not tape. Remember, right for oxygen, left for fuel gas. The Oxy-Fuel flame is meant to cut and weld metal pieces. Each operation requires a different assembly. A one-piece torch is used for cutting processes. The combination torch uses either a cutting or welding attachment. Both assemblies have at one end gas inlets called preheat valves where the hoses attach. Gases entering the torch are controlled by these valves. With all torches, gases are carried in separate tubes from the inlets to the mixing chamber before being sent to the cutting tip. A separate passageway that supplies cutting oxygen is controlled by the cutting oxygen control lever. Pressing this lever releases a flow of cutting oxygen. All torches use a tip to direct the flame and cutting oxygen. Cutting tip sizes range from 00 to 4 and larger. A manufacturer's chart will suggest a tip size and regulator pressure setting based upon the thickness of material to be cut. The diameter of the preheat holes and cutting jet orifices increase with material thickness, as do the tip size numbers. Safety devices called flashback arresters are designed to stop the progress of a flame from burning back into the hoses or regulators. These devices also serve as one-way check valves, reducing the risk of fire by keeping gases separate. Work-safe regulations require the use of flashback arresters. The Oxy-Fuel gas cutting and welding processes are safe, providing you learn and follow the safety rules. I hope that this introductory presentation to Oxy-Fuel gas equipment was informative and beneficial to your learning success. Thank you, and goodbye for now.